Modern Warfare 3 introduces open combat missions, which for the first time allows players the choice of how to complete objectives based on their preferred playstyle. Open combat missions are part of the campaign. They're part of the story, but you get to play them in the way that you want to play them. Those who like stealth gameplay can play it stealthily. Those who like to snipe, or if you like vehicles, or if you like to go guns and blazing, all of those options are supported and afforded to you as a player.
This isn't just some additional mode that lives alongside the campaign. This is intertwined with the story, and we've intentionally dispersed these throughout the campaign. When the player starts the mission, they are given a loadout, but as they go through and play, they'll be encountering new weapons, tacticals, loot crates, and these are all added to your arsenal. Players can change it up, play the mission now with suppressed weapons and sneak around, or strap on armor plates and run in loud, get right into the action. Enemies are now adapting and adjusting to your playstyle. Open combat missions have a decent amount of replayability aspect to them, and when I say that, it's less about go through the entire game and start over and play it a second time. It's more about, within each mission, trying to experience it in different ways. In one level, we start you on top of a catwalk overlooking the entire level. Hopefully by that point in the game, the player has gotten to a point where they can figure out how to start picking it apart. So player empowerment is a huge part of that level. You may even decide, to challenge yourself on some of these, like what's the fastest I can do this, or can I just bring a knife to a gunfight, and really kind of push the bounds on what you can bring as a player.
These are the type of campaign missions that we've always wanted to create, and we just can't wait to get them into the hands of the players.
That was our first look at new Modern Warfare 3 gameplay, but now let's break down what we just saw, because there are some very familiar locations in this campaign, including Verdansk. Kicking things off from the very beginning, these new sets of campaign missions called open combat missions will bring us into a massive new world, completely open, and this could be our very first look at the new Warzone map coming with Modern Warfare 3, with this animation of the main character jumping out of a plane, gliding into the game below, and we see this absolutely beautiful environment here that is created as an open sandbox for the player to traverse however they want. Shortly after, we see the player submerging out of water to see a plane flying over the bottom of Gora Dam from Verdansk. And here we see the Gora Dam in its full glory as the main character Ghost here uses a parachute to dive off and glide towards the bottom. I think it's very important to freeze frame right here, because what we're seeing is a big portion of Verdansk. In the original Verdansk, the Gora Dam didn't even have water flowing from the top to the bottom, which is really impressive to see such a massive change when before it was a frozen lake, and here we can see water flowing, but also way off in the distance you can actually see the remnants of Promenade East and West, downtown, the airport, the train station, hospital, and even the police station near Dam. But not only that, but there's also brand new POIs and buildings that have been added that were not in the original Verdansk, and it makes you question how much effort they put into this, because Verdansk has clearly been completely reworked for the Modern Warfare 3 engine. It looks different both visually and lighting wise, and it makes you think, what if we could see this in other aspects of the game, if the entirety of Verdansk at this point looks like it's been completely remade. And there are more parts of Verdansk to look at in this video, which we'll break into very shortly. But in this specific mission at the Gora Dam, Simon Ghost Riley has to defuse several bomb sites in the vicinity of the dam, one of which is on a moving truck. How you choose to complete that is entirely in your hands. As you can see in this section, where we're looking at this crane on top of this really high building, you can see on the mini-map there is a bunch of different things that you can find in this open environment, such as self-revive kits and armor plates and kill streaks, which is very different to your typical campaign mission. Now, I got to see one of these open world campaign missions in its entirety at Sledgehammer Games 2 weeks ago, and we'll dive into some more of the specifics, as in this shot right here where we go into night vision goggles. This mission is set during the ending of the new hijacking mission. Once that character gets the no Russian text, they storm the plane, hijack it, and actually crash land it somewhere. And Kony operators surrounding the wreckage and trying to cause and set a scene, even taking plane's black box and interfering with its data. We'll jump back into that, but here we get another section of Gora Dam from Verdansk, and as you can see, This is a completely remodeled, retextured, and revised version of the Gorodam from what we saw in the original Verdansk 2019. Not only is this set at night, but there is brand new detail and additional terrain added that was not there previously. Now, what makes these missions so interesting is that you start with a typical primary and secondary weapon, equipment, and on-operator gear, but another part of the loadout is additional equipment, where just like in Warzone, you can stow away loadout items like fuel upgrades, self-revive kits, and equipment pieces for later use, allowing you to use them for certain strategies. You can come across those orange crates that you would normally find in Warzone to find a particularly stronger version of a weapon than what you previously had. Now, some of the strategies involved in these missions is sneaking up with a silenced pistol, which we see footage of for that mission after the hijacking. And there's also other ways you can go about things by throwing a propane tank and then exploding it, a little bit like Extinction. And here you see a ton of the Kony operators surrounding that wreckage of the plane. And as I saw at Sledgehammer Games, there is many different ways that you can approach this mission, and where scavenging will be rewarded, as it's possible to find loose items, item boxes, and even swap your loadout mid-mission via a special crate. And some of these will be very obvious to find, and others will be very, very interesting to find with a lot of difficult strategy involved. So essentially a bit like an Easter egg quest of what we saw with the MW2 raids, where there's going to be a little puzzle in order to get to these secrets. Now again, as mentioned before about the Gorodam, this is the entirety of Verdansk remade, remodeled, and recreated, as we can see here, which looks entirely different. And in new gameplay released yesterday from Gamescom Opening Night Live, you can also see parts of Verdansk which take place on top of the hospital rooftop, which has been completely remodeled and remade, which really begs the question if we will see Verdansk in any other capacity beyond just within the campaign, because it seems there has been a ton of detail put in to recreate entire areas of Verdansk that we haven't seen since Modern Warfare 2019. So we're seeing that there are moments where if there's a body of water in an open mission, you're free to dive into it and swim around. You can also use vehicles like launching C4 rigged ATVs into an enemy helicopter, or just driving it into a whole horde of enemies, as well as using kill streaks and interactable items like a cruise missile. And these missions are all based on ideals of player choice and challenge, where you'll be intentionally challenged by enemies in a variety of different ways, in part because if you get no resistance as you're going through, then there's no reason to try different strategies. These missions are supposed to be harder than your traditional campaign mission. The developers really want you to try and find a great deal of room to improvise your way to victory, and maybe even make you question how you could go about it and do it even faster or in even more crazier ways. To some, these new open combat campaign missions might seem like a bit gimmicky, but as you can clearly see from the footage, these are very open compared to any campaign missions we've seen before. There has been a few open missions from 2019 and MW2 2022, but I think from the scale of it, the fact that there are vehicles around that you can use, there's definitely a lot more layers to it than those, and these are going to be really interesting. And the fact that we have seen Verdansk in such a massive form here is so fascinating to me, as well as seeing another massive map that we see the player jumping in from a plane into. That's really interesting to see if that's going to be part of the new Warzone map that we're seeing there as a big, very small preview, or if that could even be somehow part of Verdansk in a new area. But the most confusing part about all of this is that the timeline of this is it's Verdansk in 2023, and in 2019 Verdansk got nuked. So I don't know what exactly is happening here, if this is a retconning of that so that didn't happen, or it just got rebuilt in the 4 years since. I'm not quite sure. If there's some very strange, confusing storyline going on here, but I'm sure in time we will understand it. But these open combat missions look really, really interesting, and I just hope that we get to see the full Verdansk map in more ways than just the campaign. These worlds look so big that they should be at least co-op playable. That's what I think anyway. But let me know what you think from what you've seen so far of this new Modern Warfare 3 gameplay. If you like what you see, drop a thumbs up, let me know your comments, and subscribe to keep updated.